Hey race fan, Brian Davis races, and you can too. In today's episode, I'm just going to share with you a super quick tip on how to use Strava and a little bit of a tip on how to use Wahoo to be able to route your rides if you're somewhere that you don't understand very well, or if you're trying to get from point A to point B, which is what I'm doing this weekend. We have a family trip a couple hours away. It's 120 miles back home, and I'm planning on riding my bike home on Sunday to get a really big training day. And I'm not at all worried about how I'm going to put that route together because Strava makes it so easy. I mentioned this just for a second in the last video, and a couple people reached out and said that's a really cool tip. I didn't know about that, so I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into creating your routes on Strava, and then I'm going to show you again a little bit of how to do that on Wahoo as well. So let's rip into it. All right, first go to Strava, then under Dashboard, go to My Routes. And under this area, you'll see a big button that says Create a New Route. This will take you to the route building app, I guess. So a good tip is to start on the left-hand side and just work your way through all those options to start, and then go over to the map side. So you'll see if you want gravel, if you're riding or running, elevation, all these different things. You can put the heat map, which are the blue lines, or these points of interest, which are typically like trailheads more or less. So that might be helpful to understand where a rail to trail might exist in an area that you're not familiar with. Okay, so once you do that, a huge tip is to zoom in so you're close to where you want to start. So you find where you are on the map, and then I'm going to give you a couple other little tips to use this route builder. This route builder is really designed for being more specific with your route building. So if you're going to share this with somebody else, or you're doing a charity ride and you want to make sure the routes are correct, this is the tool to use, not the draw route that we're going to go through later. So a tip here is like I'm trying to go through the cemetery like I know I can do in real life, but the system won't let me really do that because it doesn't think I can make it through there. So just be cognizant of that, and that's really the advantage of zooming in, is you're going to make sure you're not seeing weird things at intersections. So a huge tip I picked up from GP Llama is to click just beyond the intersection, and that will route you correctly through the intersection. You can see a second ago when I clicked on the intersection, it throws these weird little loops in there. There's not quite sure where you're trying to go. It depends exactly where you clicked. So anyway, then you work your way up, and again, this is for being very hyper specific on the roads that you want to be on. I think I broke it here for a second, so bear with me. All right, so now it's unbroken. So once you get your way out of town, then you can start to zoom out and mess around with a little bit more. So as it builds, you can grab the little dots that it creates as you build the route and slide those around if you want to make sure you hit a particular road or a particular trail or a particular point of interest or something like that. So you can manipulate the route on this tool just by grabbing the route and clicking it and moving it where you want it to go. You can't do that on the draw a route feature that I'll show you here in a second. So in any event, this is what you're after. The undo button is really helpful. So the zooming in part is helpful, and then sliding around your route so that you make sure that you're hitting the right stuff that you're trying to hit. And you can see it gets confused when it gets this close, but if you're not doing it this close, it's going to be confusing when you get out on the ride, because it's going to send you on these little phantom jaunts to go right for 100 yards and then turn around and go left the other way. So zooming in has definitely got a place, especially as you're getting out of a city. And then as you get more into the country, you can be a little bit more generalized with a more of a macro view. So just a little tip I picked up along the way there. And then, let's see, once you finish, you save the route there on Strava, and then you open up your Wahoo, turn on your Wahoo head unit. Once it connects, you'll see choose a route, and now you can see the route show up. There's the one, it was actually the one below there, the draw a route, but this is the one I'm working on for this weekend. But you'll see it in your Wahoo menu, the routes that you made. Now there's another way to create routes within Wahoo, but we're gonna not really talk about that. So this tool is really helpful for doing like finite exact directions. The next tool I'm going to show you is how to do draw a route on Strava on the app itself on your phone. So open up your app and then go into the maps feature at the bottom. Once you're in there, click on the middle where it says routes. You can see on that tab it says routes. Click on routes, and then at the very bottom, once you're on routes, hang on, wait for me. Okay, once you're on routes, on the very bottom, it's hard to see, but you'll see this draw a route. There's a couple other ways to do it. You could just have the system pick, I want an 80-mile route, 90-mile route, and it'll just draw its own route. But if you want to draw a route with your finger, this is how you do it. So, all right, wait for me, I'm catching up. Okay. Anyway, you can have all these options across the top is where I'm clicking to get all these options. But now let's go to draw a route, sorry. All right, so maps, routes, draw a route is there at the bottom. So click on the draw your own route, and there's a couple little nuances to the drawing a route feature that took me a while to figure out. So you click on the pencil, you draw a route, and there you go, right? But it's so far away from where we might start. Now it's really not a big deal, because once you get it into your head unit will ask you, would you like a route to the start of this route? And you can select yes, and it'll take you right to where you need to be to start the route. But if you want to be more exact right off the bat, then you're going to need to do a little bit of zooming in to get it to close to the intersection that you're actually living at. Now, if you want to edit the route once you draw it, don't do that. You can't do that. You have to edit as you go. You can't, like the other system, it'll allow you to grab that and move it. The draw a route system won't let you do that. So let's say I want to go up this rate. So I just draw it up there, and then I move the map around to where I want to be, click the pencil button again, and I can add to that route. Move it back down, click the pencil button again, and then I can add to that route. So that's really helpful if you still want to be specific, but you want to go on a longer route. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be quite a hassle to do something like that, but they've improved that a bit. So well done. So this is the Strava draw route test. And then this is, again, you're going to save it here in the Strava app. And then when you load up your routes in Wahoo, you will find it there. You can also take all these tips and export into a GPX file and load that into your Garmin. I'm just out of the loop on how to do all these things seamlessly through the Garmin app. So if you have some real life suggestions on that, drop them in the comments for people with Garmin. And this is what this looks like. This is the route we just drew, we edited, we drew, and then that arrow button up in the upper right hand corner, it's got crisscross arrows. That just means I want to go clockwise or counterclockwise. I can click that to make my route go one direction versus the other direction. That's all that is. And then once I hit select, it will sync, and eventually when your head unit is outside and it connects to GPS, you'll be able to see that route on your head unit. Okay. So let's jump over and see what that looks like real quick. And then I'm going to show you two other ways to get this job done as well. So this is what I was talking about with the route to start. Once I load that route, I select start route. Would you like a route to start? Sure. And it'll take me to where I need to go to get started on that route. I can zoom in and out with the side buttons. And then once I find what I'm looking for, I click start and off I go. Now that's ready to jump on my bike and head out. All right, so the last thing we're going to look at is a way to do that longer Dells route that I'm doing within the Strava app. So you can find a particular point of interest by using the search feature. It's not perfect, but it'll get you close to where you're going as long as you get the name right. You could probably put an address in there and it would drop you exactly where you need to be, but I just put Wilderness Resort, and I know I'm going to be close enough because I've been in this area before. It's like, it's somewhere around here. And again, it doesn't really matter because the head unit will allow me to route to start if I want to do that when I'm ready. Okay, so to get all that figured out, now I'm just going to zoom out so I can see Appleton from the Dells. I'm going to use my finger there, the pencil icon, draw a route all the way through, and there you go. Now it's 119 miles, 3,300 feet of elevation, and I'm ready. I can load that directly onto the Wahoo. It'll go from the Strava app to the Wahoo app to the head unit, and I'm off and running. I just have to save it, that's all. And you can choose to make these routes public or not public. Again, if you're doing a group ride and you want people to have the route, that you can make it public and give people the link to that route, or you can send them the GPX file in email or post it on Facebook or however you want to accomplish that. So that's it. Now, there's one more trick on how to do this. This is the ugliest way to get it done, but you can still get it done this way, is to just do it all on the head unit. So in the route page on your head unit, you can have two options there. One, take me home. So if I were in the Dells and just trying to get home that morning that I wanted to make my ride, I could easily do that, and the routing is probably going to be okay. I like Strava because it does use that heat map information, and I'm not quite sure where Wahoo's drawing them from. And then the other one is to take me to a specific point, and this is where the Wahoo kind of sucks, is because it doesn't really allow you to move things around very well. So that part's tricky. All right, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it, race fam. We'll see you next week.